Today we're talking about these three generators, and is it better to have two generators when you happen to be up camping, or is it better to just have one? Because every time you take a drive up into the hills, or whether you live up there, the higher you go, the more power you happen to lose. If you take a look at this chart, you lose 3.5% of power out of your generator for every 1,000 feet you go up. So this might help determine which generator you actually might need to buy, depending on how you're going to use it, or where you might live as far as your elevation goes. And there is ways you can actually find some information about this, typically in your owner's manual. It'll talk about high altitude operation, things you can do to avoid complications, and also a high altitude carburetor kit if you happen to stay in those elevations all the time. We're going to be testing the generators at 3,250 feet, approximately 5,200 feet, and almost 7,000 feet. And the first place we're going to do our testing is in Northern California at McLeod RV Park. If you've never been here before, make sure to stop by and check it out. It is a very clean facility. They have cabins already ready to go if you don't have a trailer. They even have tents that are right there on site. And if you take a look at the place, they even have a creek with bridges and all kinds of things for kids to do. And it is also dog friendly. And you can see this place is well manicured and the facilities are clean. So be sure to stop by and say hi to Warren and Tammy for me. They're great people, very nice, and just happen to let me hang out while I do my testing. I happen to bring my testing facility with me, which is my 30 amp RV trailer. So we're going to be testing out at almost 3,250 feet. And so we're going to start off with a Predator 3500 first and using my trailer. And these generators, pretty much all of them are set up for sea level to about 3,000 feet. I'm going to put a monitor up, as you can see there. That'll show the action as it happens. And we'll go inside and turn on a bunch of different loads to kind of show you the difference between one generator and two generators and how they kind of work as we get up in elevations. We'll use a microwave that's up there. And one of the things we are going to do is we're going to turn off the converter. That way the test is a little bit more equal. So this is what charges your batteries. You can see on the monitor right there, it'll go off in a second. And then boom. So my battery's pretty much already charged, so we don't really need that. And we're going to go ahead and turn on the AC unit first on high, get that thing going. And so basically what you'll see here is this is a 15K AC unit. That'll kick the fan on first, then we'll turn on that microwave in a minute. We'll also use that heater. And so now you can see I'm going to try to speed this up to get things going because there is a lot to cover. We'll turn on the microwave now. You can hear the generator kick in. Those are things we're going to listen for as we continue the test. Kind of go back here and just take a look at how it sounds. So far it's doing great, and again it's rated for up to about 3,000 feet before you really need to rejet. So we're going to go ahead and add more load. And so we'll use this guy, and this will put out about 1,500 watts of power, kind of in varying stages, and kind of apologize about the noise. I'm kind of like on their maintenance road. This isn't actually a designated camping spot. So we'll turn this guy on here in a second. We'll take a look at our loads, and then we'll get the other generators going as well. So that first notch is about 650 watts. And then we'll just kind of keep the other things running, the microwave and the AC unit. And you can see so far the amperage and the voltage looks good. And so again, at 3,250 feet, you know, your generator has only lost a little bit of power so far, so it's not really going to play that big of an effect on it. But this generator is rated for 25 amps, and the two that are paralleled are rated for 26.6 amps. But the Predator is known for outperforming when you have all kinds of loads like that on. So we'll go back here and take a look. I'm assuming it should shut off here any second because I have done this test before, and there it goes. So alright, so now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and swap things out real quick just to take a look. So now we're going to start off by using these 2,000 watt generators. Basically, these are both 2,000 watt, 1,600 watt running, and basically without the plastic you wouldn't know it, but they're pretty much identical. They both run a Yamaha MZ80 clone engine. The electronics might be slightly different, but as long as they're 60 hertz at 120 volts and also pure sine wave, you can pretty much parallel any brand you want as long as those specifications are the same. One thing with AI Power versus Predator 2 that you may not know is that AI Power has a parallel port already ready right there, so you can plug in without needing a box like this. You just need the parallel cables. Now having the RV plug is nice, but you get this same port just like on the generator. But Predator has also kind of made themselves a lot more expensive at $550 now versus $380 for the AI Power. So it's kind of a much better deal for the same darn generator. So definitely look it up in a link below. I'll show you guys. And we're going to go ahead and get this test started. We'll do the same test again, get the AC going, and basically what you're listening for is how these generators basically start up under load and whether they struggle or not. So turn on some lights real quick here, and then we'll do the same test with the AC And so as we get going later on in the video, there won't be as much to kind of, go through, and we'll be able to move along a little bit quicker. So the fan comes on, obviously, again, and then you'll see the compressor with the meter. That'll kick on in here in just a second. We'll do the microwave, do the heater again as well. So we'll let that kind of get running, and by turning off that converter, by the way, it saves you an amp or two depending, because if you're running lights and everything, you might be drawing 2 or 3 amps just for your converter, and check to see if that's blowing cold air now, which it is. And if you happen to have your fridge on EC, that's also going to draw some power as well. So things you can do to kind of save a little power, maybe run that on propane, I guess. And so go ahead and get the microwave going here and get that next load now that the EC's up and running. Now you can hear the generators kind of bogged down just a little bit, but not hardly at all. They did really well. They sound good. And again, these things are usually good up to about 3,000 feet when it really start to struggle after that. So go ahead and turn on this guy. And again, it looks like the power ratings are relatively close to the same. Now, I do know that the AI power in the Predator will shut off quite a bit quicker because, again, we're rated at 26.6 amps. And once it starts getting over that, the lights come on. The overload light starts to blink, and then they will pretty much shut down as shown, and boom, there you go, done. So kind of take a look back here at the lights real quick just to see if one is kind of going or the other isn't. So we'll take a look. Predator's flashing. We'll take a look at the AI power over here real quick. Yep, still flashing. So, and the red light is on there as well. So on to the next level. So at about 5,225 feet, this will be where we start up our test next. And because I didn't want to keep moving that Predator around, I left it on my little kind of a hitch rack that's there. And that rack is actually mounted to the frame. It's not on the bumper, and it's rated at 250 pounds. So plus I reinforced it because the bolts they had on there weren't to my liking. So anyway, you can see now that the meter kind of bounces around a little bit because obviously going in the trailer, and now we get the AC going again. But yeah, a couple little things like that I didn't notice when I was recording is that every time I move in the trailer, it kind of moves the camera. So again, we'll do the same loads. And now what we're going to listen for is the load that's on the generator when we turn on the microwave. So we'll go ahead and turn this on. Now you can kind of hear, there it goes. Generator bogs down a little bit, but not too bad. Kind of take a look back here. Now, it would help if this was running a jet kit at this elevation, but if you were to have that jet kit in there, then you can no longer go down to sea level because you would burn it up. So there are things to know about that when rejetting. So one thing we're going to do now is we'll turn this back on and we'll kind of listen, but probably won't go a whole lot higher because notice our voltage now is dropping quite a bit. We're starting to get into voltages that are pretty low. So what the hell, we'll turn on one more. Now look at that. So definitely hear the generators kind of struggling back there, and even though it's not very hot up here either, because that would make a difference, but yeah, the generator is definitely struggling, and kind of look at that overload lights definitely blinking there, kind of show you. So now before we were able to turn on the heater all the way and it would kind of keep running, but for safety purposes and stuff, we'll just go ahead and turn this guy off. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to the dual generators now because we pretty much kind of shown you what we need to. So same setup, get this going again. And again, what you want to listen for is the load on the generators. Go ahead and jump back in here real quick and turn everything back on like we did. And then, so when the compressor kicks on, that's what you want to listen for. And then also when that microwave kicks on. I'll kind of stand out here a little. So there goes that. Not much of a struggle, really. Compressor should kick on any second. Continue to listen. Boom, there it was. It kind of hardly struggled really at all. It actually did a good job, better than the Predator, so impressive. So with the AC kind of, kicking on all by itself, we'll see, well, what the generator does now with the microwave. There we go. You hear that? It actually handled it really well. The two generators are actually doing better than the single, even though both of those generators are 80 cc, which gives us 160, and the Predator is 212 cc's. So get that heater going now. You can both hear them kind of struggling. Our voltage is way down. I'm sure the lights are flashing like crazy. Just kind of take a look at that. So as we go down there, yeah, you can see that the lights are both flashing. These guys are pretty much going to be kicking off, I assume, any time. The AI power is actually just flashing green with no red yet. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and turn this back off and kind of abort the rest of this test, and we'll move on to that upper level again, because, you know, there's no reason to damage anything. So, alright, kind of put that done, and now we'll turn those guys off too, and we'll kind of get moving on. So other than that, though, they did handle the loads, I think, better than the bigger Predator. The two smaller ones actually did a better job as far as when that quick load came on. Obviously, neither one do good at the highest loads, but anyways, we continue our journey up to the top of the mountain of Mount Shasta. If you haven't been here before, another great place to visit. You can hike all the way to the top of that thing if you so desire at 14,000 feet, but we're going to stay down here just a little over 6,900 feet and get the generator kind of tested again. So what we're going to do is the same exact test, and probably won't get to that heater too much. But so what you want to do now is listen, and I'll try to not talk so much, which is sometimes hard for me. But so go ahead and listen for the air to come on. So there goes the fan, and the compressor will kick on here in just a second. And again, waiting. There it goes. So not bad, but you can definitely hear it kind of drop down a little bit. So now that that guy's blowing cold air again, just kind of give it a minute to regulate. We'll go ahead and do the same microwave. Wow. So now you can see the difference in altitude, and it's actually struggling to kind of run there for a little bit, doing better now, but definitely a drop. And again, this is only rated at 25 amps, but it has always performed better. You can easily run this thing at 28, 29, no problem for a long time, but definitely not sounding as healthy now. So go ahead and turn that guy on, and look at that, only one click, and now that thing is just struggling to run. I'm assuming it probably will shut off here pretty quick with the low voltage, at least it should. You do see the red light on, but it's still running, so I think that thing would shut off anytime, but it seems like it won't, so we'll just help it out. Turn that guy off, and we'll go ahead and do the same test again with the two little guys and see how well they do under the same loads, and just to see, is two really better than one when you have to use them in a varying conditions. That's what we're really looking for, is, you know, because there's always pros and cons to two or one. All right, so fan kicks on. Kind of take a listen out here real quick. Boom, there it goes. Actually not bad. It struggled, it hardly even struggled, to be honest. It seems like it's actually did a lot better under that quick load. So we'll go ahead and let that run for a second. Wow, look at that. Actually did quite a bit better than the Predator did, and so far actually sounding pretty good. I mean, you can tell they're definitely working, but sounds a lot healthier than the Predator was with just running the AC unit and the microwave. So we'll go ahead and just kind of turn on the heater and see what it does. I'm assuming it's pretty much going to kill him. So let's see what happens. And of course, yeah, that much load, definitely not happy. I'm assuming those are going to shut off here pretty quick. Still running though, but look at that. Red lights are on. And there she goes, shuts off. So that pretty much concludes the demonstration, but let me know in the comments down below which one you guys think you would rather have, two or one, and what did better, and be sure